I just built this brand new commander deck. It went from an idea to sleeved and ready to play faster than you may think is possible. And I didn't buy a single new card in the process. So it cost me nothing. And I didn't have to spend hours sorting my collection ahead of time to do this. All I had to do was scan my collection and use the new tools we built. So in order to do this as easily as possible, we're going to break it down into 5 simple steps. First, just pick a commander. For the example today, let's use Seer Vandam, the Sunstar Exemplar. Once we know our commander, we decide on our strategy. In this case, we know that Seer Vandam is a 2/2 Vigilance Menace with the text that says, whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a 1/1 counter on Seer Vandam and you gain a life. The second line is, when Seer Vandam dies or is put into exile, while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. So our strategy is going to be play a bunch of little creatures, sacrifice them, make Seer Vandam big. Next step is to break that high-level strategy into sub-strategies, which we will call roles. I did a whole video on this, which I'll link on the screen, but for now, all you need to know is that we're going to have a lot of little creatures, sacrifice effects, and flicker and return effects. So we will take those commander-specific roles and add them to our template. On the screen here, I'm showing you the commander role template we used in the previous video. I've tweaked it slightly since then, but here's what I'm going to try to build. So I have my core total. It's 62 cards. It's lands, ramp, card draw, spot removal, board wipes. 62 cards of the deck in those core roles. The remaining is the commander-specific strategy. You got 20 creatures, 10 sack outlets, 5 return or flicker effects. That's it. So all we have to do is figure out how do we get from these roles to specific cards. And that's what I'm going to show you here today. In the app we built, you search your collection for specific roles, and then it's going to basically help you assemble that deck. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to show the app up on the screen here, and we'll get started. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new deck. We're going to start brand new from scratch. And I'm going to create a Seer Vandam deck. And we're going to make the format commander, and we'll hit create. It's going to create a new deck for us. We're going to tap into that. So we can hit the commander drop down, and we're going to select our commander. This is going to do a few things. Most importantly, it's going to tell the app which parts of the color pie are usable in this app. So we'll go ahead and, or in this deck rather. So we'll go ahead and select our commander, Seer Vandam, and then we're going to select it. So now we have our commander selected in our deck. So how do we create roles in the app, right? That's the question. So what we do is we make sure that we have our deck being sorted by type role. And then once you have that sorting typed in, you can go ahead and hit manage roles. So what we can do now is we can start to create our roles. So we're going to go through these one at a time. I'm probably going to speed up the video at times just so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me do everything, but I'll try to slow the video down at the key and most important parts. So first thing is we'll create our first role. We'll just create the land role, and we want 37 lands. You got to kind of figure out in the app how to search for your particular role, what you're trying to build. So for a land role, all we have to do is select a type line of land. That's a pretty easy one. So we got a type line of land, and we can hit set criteria. We can confirm this role, and we can just tap out of here. And now we have this land role set up in the app. And you can notice these two icons on the right-hand side. One looks like cards, and one looks like a globe. The card icon, if I tap that, that'll search my collection, only the cards I've scanned into my collection. If I tap the globe icon, that's going to search the entire card pool of Magic the Gathering cards. So since I want to build only from cards in my collection, I'm going to hit the cards icon. So there we go, boom. These are all the lands in my collection. So what I can do is I can tap this sort feature. So I'm going to sort by EDH rank, and this is going to sort by the most popular commander cards. Pretty good way to sort when you're doing this. So tap the square icon in the top right. That's going to activate selection mode, and I can literally just go through here and start selecting cards. If we find lands in here that have synergies, like sacrifice synergies, or synergies with our commander or with our deck, we absolutely want to pull those. So immediately you want to start looking for synergies with your other roles. So it's not working, I don't care. If you're looking for lands that are good with this particular deck, obviously we're going to grab basically all white or black flash lands, just like to play with those. We do have a filter that you could set up in the roles to exclude cards that are being used already in other decks. I'm not going to get into that in this video because it's going to just make the video too complicated, but just know that is an option in the app. We're continuing to go through which cards I want to play. For Phyrexian Tower, this is a synergistic card, so what this means is it's filling a land role and it's filling a sacrifice role, right? It's a sack outlet. So this is a auto-include. It's got synergy, fulfilling 2 roles for 1 card. We're starting to get into some MDFC, some flip lands. So these are generally always a good include, especially in these like 2-color decks. Here you have a Malika Rebirth. So we have a return or flicker effect as a role, and we have a land. So again, here's a synergy card, fulfilling 2 roles, 1 card. Witch Enchanter, fulfilling 2 roles, right? Creature with the ETB effect and a land. Awesome. So we're just got to go through here and figure out which lands we want. So now all we have to do is let's go ahead and hit this plus button at the top right, and it's going to ask us if we want to add these to the deck, and we're going to add them. So then what we're going to do, we have now, you can see we have 32 lands populating this role. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just using the manual add feature, the plus button at the top right, I'm just going to go ahead and add some planes. So I'm going to add 3 planes, and I'm going to tweak these numbers later, but we're just going to get a baseline now. Add 3 planes, and then we're going to go ahead and add 3 swamps. Oops, go back here, add swamps. Here we go. And with swamps, we can tweak the left the version we want later. Just trying to get these in. So now we have our, we have 38 lands, right? We want 37. So I said I'm going to put one of these in the sideboard. So a cool thing in this app, we're looking at the list view. If you like the list view, you can look at the list view. If you want to look at the graphical view, you just hit the 3 dots and go to visual view. So there was one card I was thinking about, maybe it's just this Crypt of Egadine. I can just swipe this to the right to move to sideboard. I can swipe to the left to delete it. I'm going to just swipe it to the right, put it in the sideboard. Cool. We got our 37 lands, easy. Next thing, build the next role. So we'll go to manage roles, create new role, and we're going to build our ramp role, which is only 4 cards. So I mentioned in the role template video, the previous video I made, it'll be linked again. When I'm building ramp for this deck, I'm not playing 2-mana ramp because I'm playing my commander on turn 2. I'm almost never going to want to play a 2-mana rock when I could be playing my commander instead. So I can play a lot of ramp here. I'm even skeptical on whether I want to play Soul Ring or not. But the only ramp I want to play really is ramp that doubles as a sack effect. So how am I going to set this roll up in the app? What I'm going to do is go to Oracle Text. I'm just going to do add, and I'm going to do sacrifice. And that's really all you need to do is do add and sacrifice. There are some other things I'm aware of, like that create treasures when you sack, which is kind of ramp. So we don't want to miss those with our search. So what we can do is we can set this criteria and we can clone that criteria. So we're going to basically clone that search, and I'm going to change it to being, instead of add and sacrifice, it's going to be sacrifice and create. So this will catch all of our cards that create treasures when you sack a creature, for instance. So let's just search this and let's see what we get. So we're going to go back to our main screen, search our ramp, and see what shows up. Again, I'm using the card icon here, so it searches only cards in my collection. Again, we're only adding 4 here, so we don't need a lot. Deadly Dispute, I would say card draw, potentially ramp, and sack. That's probably a pretty good one to play. It might not be the best, but we're going to add it for now. Ashnod Altar, you have sack and ramp, but it's colorless ramp. I don't really want colorless ramp. Phyrexian Altar is a very good one. It's got synergy with sack and ramp. Warren Soul Trader is a very good one, sack and ramp. Culling the Week's very good, sack and ramp. So we're already at 5. We've already got too many here, but these are overlapping quite a bit, so that's good. Here's the cool thing about when you find synergistic cards. Like I said, they're going to overlap and they're going to fulfill more than one role. So the more synergistic cards you find, the better your deck's going to feel. So we got our ramp filled out. We got plenty of ramp now. We're going to go ahead and do the card draw. So again, go up to the top right, hit manage roles, create a new role, and we're just going to call it draw. And then we're going to edit our criteria. So obviously if we want to draw cards, the Oracle text almost certainly says draw. Let's just set this for now. We can always go back and tweak this, but let's set draw and let's again search our collection. This is kind of a iterative process most of the time. You're going to add cards, tweak the deck, remove cards. We have a built-in play tester in the app, so you can play test the deck before you build it. So you have Skull Clamp, sack effect, effectively a sack effect with all our little creatures we're not playing, and card draw, very, very good. Asper Sentinel, very, very good. 1-drop creature. We want a lot of little creatures for our deck anyway. Deadly Dispute, card draw, we've already got it. So you can see this little deck list icon, which is telling me I've already put this card in my deck, so I don't want to put it again in a singleton format, obviously. So we said we wanted 11 card draw. It's kind of a lot. We can obviously change this as we go. But I'm just gonna draw a card, but we didn't really set up this roll super tight, so you're gonna get some kind of cards that show up that maybe shouldn't. You can always go back and tweak the roll definition, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Welcome Vampire, very turn this deck. Every time we play a small creature, we're gonna draw a card. Very, very good. But you can see now it's saying we have 14 draw cards because if I expand this, you know, you have Castle Locked-Twain, which is a draw card. You have Minas Tirith, which is a draw card. So we have several lands that are acting as draw rolls, so to speak, for us as well. So that's very good. So we've hit our goal for draw, which was 11 cards. So up next we got spot removal, and then we have board wipes. So let's go ahead and create our removal roll. And one thing I didn't point out earlier, what I want to point out now is you can see that this colors filter is auto-populating. That's because we've selected our commander already for this deck. So the software is basically looking at the color pie requirements of the commander, and it's auto-populating this colors roll for us so we don't have to do it every time. So yeah, spot removal. I'm just going to go ahead and do destroy targets, destroy and target. I'm going to set that criteria, then I'm going to clone that criteria. And I also want to make sure we don't miss exile target effects, because those are obviously good too. And actually, I should have done this before I cloned it, but I'm not a big fan of sorcery removal. I want to just make sure we get instants here. So let me edit this one to add instants as well. So now we're going to look at destroy target and exile target instant speed interaction. So we've created our roll here. We can go back and we can see we've already got one populated. The app was smart enough to know that Fell the Profane, which we added as a land, is removal. Pretty cool, eh? So now we're going to go ahead and search our collection for spot removal. Again, we're looking for 7 of these. And we're going to just select which ones of these 7 do we want to play. So up next, we got our board wipes. And then after this, we're through our core rolls and we'll move to our deck-specific rolls. So let's create a new roll. We'll go board wipe. And how are we going to build a board wipe roll? This one's a little bit trickier, right? So we obviously want Oracle text. I'm going to do destroy all and type. I think we want either sorcery or instant here. For this particular deck, I'm going to stick mainly to sorceries or instants. You want to make sure we check or here. And we'll set this criteria. And then I'm going to clone this again. Similar to what we did before, I want to make sure we get exile effects in here as well. So we have all exile. That's good. And then I'm going to do one more clone just because I know I also want to include board wide -X effects, right? So we'll do -X -X. I don't know if I explained this before, but the way the criteria work is it's ORing them together. So it's going to basically, for each criteria, it's going to pull a specific list of those cards, and then it's basically going to add them all together and show you those results. So if we go ahead and search our collection for this board wipe roll we just created, Toxic Deluge is one I want to play. I kind of knew I wanted to play it, so to some extent I cheated a little bit when I created that roll because like I don't think a lot of times people would necessarily think to add that roll. But it's like the more you know about the game, the better you create these rolls. And these rolls are not like finalized like the way we're working them in the app. We're going to continue to improve this system, hopefully with your feedback. So in the rest of the video, I've been showing you how you use the selection tool to add multiple cards at once. If you're just trying to add one card, just tap the card image and you can just hit add deck. And that's a way to add one card at a time. So there's multiple options, multiple ways to add cards. So now we got our board wipe category. It says we got 5. We can expand those to look at those. So let's go ahead and go next to creatures. So we're into our more deck specific rolls. So we have our creatures roll, and we're going to go ahead and edit our filters. Obviously, we want type line creature. But then I want to go ahead and search for creatures that have certain effects that are synergistic in this deck. Like I don't just want to play any random creature. I want to play creatures that synergize well with sack and exile effects, right? So what are those? Those are creatures with enter the battlefield triggers. Those are creatures that have their own sacrifice effects. Those are creatures that have their own ability to sack other creatures. Those are creatures that make tokens, etc. So Oracle text, I'm going to go ahead and just add several things. So first things first, we're going to add a sacrifice one. We're going to add an exile one. We're going to add a enters one. Let's just add one for token. I just want to see if any of them are creating tokens in an interesting way. And that's good. We're going to OR these. We want to see like all the creatures that have any of these types of keywords on them. So we'll set that. We can go back and refine this later if we want, but this is this roll we set up is looking for types of creatures that have any of those keywords. So again, you can see it's pulling stuff in already. It's pulled in 7 into this roll. So these are all creatures we pulled in to fulfill other roles, but you're starting to see that overlap and how kind of cool this tool is. So let's go ahead and tap the card icon to search our collection again. And we're going to need to add 13 more. We've got 7 already. So what are the best ones? Tap our selection tool. Viscera, 1-drop, sack effect. Perfect. As you can see with our commander, which is trying to sack creatures anyway, it's going to be very, very strong in this deck. We're going to want to play all these types of effects. Mariner's I like because it's creating a token, but it's also giving us a combo win potential with. So let's go back. We have our creatures, 29. As we already saw, we could scroll through these and make cuts now. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave them for now. So going back, let's look at our template again. So now we have our sacrifice outlets. So we said we want about 10 sack outlets. I know we've already added a few, but since we don't have the role set up, we can't see exactly which ones and how many. So we created our role. Oracle text, obviously we want sacrifice. So let's just go ahead and do sacrifice effects only. It's 25 sack effects in this deck. I only wanted 10. But it's picking up our lands, like these fetch lands, which really aren't sack effects. So I could just like exclude lands from this criteria, but then it would like exclude Phyrexian Tower. All right, so here's what we got to do. So we have to edit our criteria because we only care about things that sacrifice creatures. So we need to do sacrifice creature. So sack and creature. This should... Alright, so now we got these that are considered sack effects. Sacking a creature. We said we wanted 10 of these is all. And we've got... How many did it say? 8. It's 16. So you already have 16 sack effects. These are all synergistic to another role. So that's a very, very strong indicator that we're building this deck in a synergistic way. So our last 2 roles are return and flicker. Let's see how many cards we got. We got 86 cards in this deck already. So we have 14 more we can put in this deck. So you can see really the power of synergy here is, although we said we only want 20 creatures, we found creatures that had synergy with sack effects, with card draw, with removal, etc. So it's allowing us to, even though our deck's only going to end up with 99 cards in it, plus our commander, we're going to have cards that fulfill way more than 99 roles because we have several cards in here that fulfill multiple roles at once. Create new role. We're going to create our flicker/return role. Return, exile. So we're going to go ahead and search our collection only. All right, reanimate. Pretty good. Sun Titan, not good. Ephemerate, obviously very good. I think we might already have too many. We said we wanted like 5. Let's just add these and then we can look at them all together. So we got 13. One's a land, one's a creature. Dread Returns got synergy sack. Ephemerate's fine. Flicker Wisp is fine. All right, so now we're up to 95 cards. And we have all of our roles fulfilled. So what I would do here, honestly, I would just start to play some Goldfish games and like see what I'm missing, and I can start to tweak and figure out what the last 4 cards should be. So for example, if you go into the 3 dots and you hit Goldfish Test, in the app we have a Goldfish Tester built in, and really what this lets you do is just play a handful of games, right? Play 12 games, play 20 games, whatever, and just play the first 3, 4, 5 turns, like see how it's going, see how it's like, is it stalling out in certain ways, is things going awry? Like, are you getting too many of one roll? If so, this gives you a good way to like starting point to tweak before you go pull all these cards out of your, your storage boxes and everything. Just kind of make sure the deck works as you expect before you go assemble it. Here we go. We got a hand. It's got 3 lands. Great. It's got some interaction. Great. It's got some creatures. Great. Let's keep it. So now I can draw for my first turn. I can play. I don't have any 1-drops in my hand, unfortunately, so I'm going to just play this tap land and go to our next turn. Cool, Concealed Courtyard. Now we can just play our commander. So you're starting to see how with just this very simple gold fishing tool, you can start to understand how your deck's going to work. All right, so nothing obviously was missing in those goldfish attempts. So I'm going to just fill this with a few more cards, and then we're just going to go into the assembly process. All right, so now that we have our 99, I want to introduce you to the deck assembly tool. If you look at this blue and orange bar at the top, this is basically telling us how much of this deck is assembled, how much is available, meaning we own it, but it's not currently assembled in the deck, how many of these cards we've selected we own but are in other decks, the orange dots, and how many of these cards are missing. So what I can do now is I can sort by assembled state, and we can see which of these cards are available and which are in other decks. So the in other decks is obviously cards that are being played in other decks. And these are things that, you may want to proxy, you may want to buy more copies of, or you may just choose to take apart those other decks temporarily or permanently. That's your call. So we have these cards in other decks, and then the rest are available. So they'll have these blue dots. So these are not being used in other decks. If you want a full rundown of this color system, I have another video in it. I'll throw it up on the screen right now as a link. But let's go ahead and start assembling. Basically what this is going to do is going to let me just physically pull all the cards I need for this deck. First thing up is the binder. So it's got 28 potential cards I can pull. So let me go grab that binder. And I don't have this binder super well organized, frankly. It's kind of an artifact of what I was using in my previous system. So I'm not really using it as much anymore. I'm using just chaotic storage more. But there's still cards in here. I never pulled them out. So first thing we need to do is find this Agadeem's Awakening. Here we go. So we got our Agadeem's Awakening. I'm going to go ahead and pull it. So all I have to do now is I tap this checkbox, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to pull this from the old location, the binder, to the new location, this deck we're building? I'm going to say yes. So you just hit assemble. So now we need braids from the binder. So I got one right here. Got our braids. Go ahead and pull it, check it off, hit assemble. Up next, we got our Esper Sentinels. Pull our Esper Sentinel, check it off, hit assemble. Up next, we got Gix. So just decided to go 3x speed here and just do a voiceover. We just repeat this process over and over and over. And the key thing here to notice is that this assemble deck tool is telling me exactly where the cards are. And then as I go through and I check each one off and click the assemble button, that is me telling the app that these cards are moving locations. And that's important to do so that the app stays synced with the physical collection. And I'm just grabbing bins from the chaotic storage box to grab cards. So it's telling me exactly which bin to pull these cards from. And it's very, very quick. This entire process, I think, took me maybe a half hour to assemble this deck. So here I put C5 back, pulled C18. I'm just pulling these cards out, right? So if you're using the chaotic storage system, usually you have about 80 or 100 cards per bin. So you just have to look through each bin, 80 or 100 cards. And in this case, C14, I'm looking for these 3 cards. So it only takes me, 30 seconds or something to find these 3 cards. And I've got them pulled for my deck. So I didn't have to sort my collection. I didn't have to spend a bunch of time doing anything. I just scan my cards into the chaotic storage system and everything's just ready to pull. So if this is interesting to you and you want to learn more about chaotic storage, I have a full video on that. I'll put that on the screen now. But it's something I highly recommend. So using this chaotic storage system and our deck building tools, you can kind of start to see how quickly you can start to assemble decks purely from cards in your collection. And that's really our intent here is we're trying to make Magic much more accessible. We found that building commander decks became very difficult over time. It required you to, go online, look at all these various deck lists, look at various websites to go figure out which cards you want to play. And then you got to go order all those cards because you probably don't have half of them, or you don't really know where they are if you do have some of them, because if you're sorting is kind of a large task to maintain. Whereas basically using this role method and this deck building method, you're just deciding on the high level strategy of what you're trying to achieve in your deck. And you're saying, all right, well, this particular Sirvandom deck, I was trying to play a lot of little creatures, go wide, sacrifice effects, grow Sirvandom pretty large, bank on that Sirvandom menace ability to be able to evade, some chump blockers, remove my opponent's creatures, and just try to kill them with Sirvandom. So basically I was able to develop the strategy for this deck, turn that strategy into roles, so break that strategy up into pieces, and then program those roles into our deck building tool so that I could then search my personal collection for cards that fulfill those roles. And then I was able to just pick specific cards from those lists, as we showed in the beginning of this video. So then I just use the assemble deck tool, and it tells me exactly where every card is. So then I go through and I pull every card. I tell the app I'm moving, this card from this location to this new location, so that next time I go to build a deck, or next time I go to do something with these cards, the app knows exactly where it is. And we're just using this system to track keep track of the cards, keep everything synced up. So using this, you can build decks super quick. You don't have to buy a bunch of cards. You can go from a commander and a high level strategy to a role, to cards, to specific cards for each role, to physical cards in your hand, and the deck ready to play within 30 minutes to an hour. Playing commander shouldn't mean you have to sit around and organize your collection for weeks and then spend days finding cards and then wait another month for cards to come in the mail. Like, if you have a decent sized collection, you should be able to just build decks from the cards you already have. You should be able to do that, in an hour, right? From idea to deck in hand, ready to play in an hour. That's ultimately our goal here. So you want to learn more about chaotic storage, or you want to learn more about the scanning system we built to make all of this possible, check out our channel. We got a bunch of great videos on there. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully this helps you. And look forward to you trying this out.